Alright guys, welcome back to the Astro Pilot YouTube channel. In this quick little video, I'm going to show you guys how to process a deep sky object image using GIMP 2.10. This is my processing software that I always use to process my Astro photos. So hope you enjoy this video. We're going to sit down and get into GIMP and start processing this photo of the Rosette Nebula. So let's get into it and join me back on the desktop here in GIMP 2.10. Alright everybody, here we are in GIMP 2.10 and we're going to do a image processing tutorial today. This is a stacked image from Deep Sky Stacker of the Rosette Nebula using my modified Canon XSI with the Zenith Star 61 up here. And this is about 4 hours, I believe, of data. This is some older data I've already processed before. I thought it would be a good target for a tutorial, so I will walk you through the whole process of astrophotography processing with GIMP. I know there's not a whole lot of videos out there for GIMP with astrophotography, so let's get into it. So this is a 16-bit TIFF image stacked from Deep Sky Stacker, and I've placed it in GIMP here. So we have our layers window here, our histogram tools. So this will be a full-on processing tutorial, so let's just get started. So first you're gonna want to go to curves, so colors, curves, where we can start seeing something. So you can start to see a little bit of nebulosity right in there. So we'll stretch that just a little bit more and we will even that curve out there, and we will name that, we'll just leave that as is. We'll go ahead and do our levels adjustment. So this is all in one layer. So colors, levels, and you want to make sure this histogram is all even. You want the RGB channels to be completely aligned. So to see that a little bit more, we will do another curve stretch. There you can see the Rosette Nebula popping out. So you see how the red, blue, green are not aligned. So we're going to go to colors, levels, and start with the green, and we'll slide the black point down. Say OK, and then the green and blue are aligned now, so now we just need to get the blue and green even with the red. So we'll do that again. Slide the black point of the green channel down a little bit more, just like that, and there it is there. We can bring that down just a little bit more, just like that. There we go. And then we'll get the blue. And there we go, all aligned. So those RGB channels are now completely aligned together, and now we can set our black point. So we'll drag this black point all the way up to the edge of the histogram, not clip any data. So that is our first layer. So we will leave that layer alone and duplicate that layer. You can name these layers if you want to, but for the tutorial I'll just leave them as duplicates. I usually like to label them as like first adjustment layer, levels layer, and curves and whatnot, but for the tutorial I'll just leave them blank. But we will have multiple layers here when we get done. So the second layer we will do a significant curve stretch. So colors, curves, and we will pull this up about right there. Whatever looks good to you, really. It's just a personal preference of how much you want to stretch it. You don't want to overstretch because it just totally ruins it. But right around there, that's a good Astro stretch there, and we'll just even that curve out. And that looks good right there. And when you do that, that will send the black point up, so we'll go to levels and drag that black point back down just like that. And then we can zoom in a little bit. You can see some great detail in the Rosette Nebula there. And the stars, of course, every time you stretch, the stars are going to get bigger and bigger, so we'll do a star reduction once we get done with the primary processing stuff. So the target's not exactly centered, and I usually always crop my image. It's just a tad, so we will go ahead and crop. So hit the crop tool here, and we want to put that sort of in the center of the frame. That's my fault because I just didn't get it framed up properly. So we will do that right there. That's a pretty good field of view, so we'll crop that. And now that's the new image, and we can zoom in a little bit, and there we go. Duplicate that layer, and now we can maybe try to do a contrast stretch. So bring that up a little bit more, bring that down a little bit, and that looks pretty good. Right there. That looks really good right there. Okay, we'll save that and duplicate layer. So our contrast curve is done. And this is going to be a really quick processing session because I've done it so many times I can do it pretty fast. So it is a bit noisy. I do have a plugin called GIMP. GMIC. It's a plugin for astrophotography, not specifically astrophotography, but it does good noise reduction. So I will do that here in a little bit. And let's check our levels just a tad bit. We'll slide that back down just a little bit more to get that black background. You don't want to clip any of that data though, because you'll start losing data. So okay, now it is time for star reduction. Duplicate layer. This is the best way I've found to reduce stars in GIMP. So we will do select by color and zoom in here and select a star, and now it has selected that color. So you want to select that whole star. So we'll do select grow, and I'll grow by about 8 pixels. So there, that color is surrounding the surrounding areas of the star. Now on some of these big areas you want to take those out just because it'll just start to distort the way the stars look. So we will do a free select tool, subtract from current selection, and we will go around and just take out these large stars, and we will do those separately. We'll do those separate apart from the other stars. And we'll hit enter. And that subtracts those areas of stars. We will do the same thing right there. Any large area of stars that are clustered up, it'll distort them, so you'll have to do those separately. So just hit enter, and that takes away that area Everything else looks good. Now we want to feather the edges, so feather selection by 5. And now we are ready to do the star reduction. So go to Filters, Distorts, Value Propagate. We can slide this propagating rate all the way down, and in mode you want to go to more black, smaller value. So now we can slide this propagating rate up and watch the stars. And you see they make them smaller. So that's before and that's after. So, and you can precisely sort of get the halo around the stars too, because on some of these it's going to start distorting the smaller stars around the big stars. You can see there it starts to morph those. You can deselect those and do them separately if you want to. It'll just take more time. That's what I usually do, but for the sake of the processing tutorial, keep it quick. So do that full propagating rate at 1, hit OK, and hit Control Shift A to deselect. And that is the first attempt at star reduction. So we'll turn this layer off. So that's before and that's after. So a huge difference in the size of stars. Before and after. So all around it makes the nebula pop out more, and it just it's a better looking image with smaller stars. And sometimes I repeat that process 2 or 3 times, usually around 2 times. So we'll duplicate that layer and do it again and see what the stars look like then. So select by color, they're selected, grow by 7, that's a good selection. We will subtract these right here, hit enter, those are taken away, feather by 5, and then go to filters, distorts, value propagate, more black. And you see when you do it too much, when you don't have that selection range just right, you start to get a large blurred halo around the stars. So I'm not crazy about that look there. It looks sort of bad. So I think I'm gonna leave. I don't think I'm gonna do another star reduction layer, so we can just delete that layer there. So we're not gonna do another star reduction. So Control Shift A to deselect again. And now we can move on to noise reduction. And that's the thing with the DSLR. Even in winter, it's still a bit noisy. In the summertime, it'll get noisier with the heat, but in the cold winter temperatures, it usually goes down a bit. That's why I'm looking into a dedicated astronomy camera. But the noise level is not bad in this. The more you stretch it, the more noise there will be. So you can see we have a really good detail of these tendrils of nebula that are sticking out here. So we want to preserve that sharpness, all the while decreasing the overall noise level. So this is when the plug-in I was talking about comes into use. So go to Filters, GIMP, and this is a free plug-in, and you can download it, and it installs it right into GIMP. Super easy. Just search GIMP for GIMP 2.10. It's really easy to download. Just it's a really nice noise reduction capability, a lot better than the default noise reduction that's with GIMP. But So the one I like the best is in testing, and you go to photo comics and down to photo comic smoothing. That's noise reduction, and we want to keep this right here, anisotropy, down, because when you increase that it makes it all wavy and unrealistic. So you want to get all that down to 0. Sharpness we can adjust. The more you bring that down, the blurrier the image will be. And amplitude, that's the amount of noise reduction, so I like to keep that low. And the sharpness, and you can move over and see. And you can just adjust that to your personal preference there. That looks pretty good. So we have the amplitude low, sharpness pretty high. Gradient smoothness, we can turn that up a bit. Not too much though. That right there is good. Precision, I usually like to leave that around the same, so that is a good amount of noise reduction, I believe. And we can go ahead and hit apply. That just takes a couple seconds to load. And it is done. So we can hit OK. And then we can zoom out. And I say that is a pretty good image of the Rosette Nebula. Do it before and after. That's with star reduction. Then you can adjust the opacity, which I usually like to leave it full for the noise reduction. And even with that noise reduction, you're retaining a good bit of sharpness with those tendrils of nebulosity there that are jetting out of the center of the nebula. And an overall pretty smooth image with that noise reduction plug-in. I'm really happy with that plug-in. So that is basically it. We can check our levels and they're all good. We can slide that back just a tad bit more. There we have it. And realistically, you would want to name these layers and save them at a certain point where you could go back and readjust stuff if you wanted to later. But for the sake of this tutorial, we are just duplicating the layers. And that is basically it. I do have a tad bit of gradient. That's probably just to do with flat frames. I don't know if I took flats with this or not. I probably did. But that is the Rosette Nebula. Shot the Canon XSI, about 3 or 4 hours worth of data. And that is basically a quick, super quick processing tutorial for deep sky astrophotography in GIMP 2.10. So this is the only software I've used so far, and I'm really happy with it. I didn't really want to pay the money for Photoshop or PixInsight, definitely not PixInsight. But I find that GIMP is a totally, really great competitor to Photoshop. Definitely when you start getting these plugins for it. The noise reduction plugin is really nice. I'll probably put that in the description in the video, so you can check out that plugin for GIMP. The good thing is you don't have to copy and paste those plugins directly into GIMP. It does it all itself through its own installer. So yeah, I'm really overall happy with this image. Really quick processing tutorial. Hope you learned something from it. We'll go ahead and export. One other quick thing, I can mess with the sharpness. So duplicate layer, 100%. Filters, enhance, sharpen, unsharp mask. And we can increase that and decrease. You can do a split view, see how that looks. Zoom out. I think we'll leave it as it was, so we won't do any more sharpening. That looks pretty good right there, so go ahead and export that. So export as, I usually export all my pictures as JPEG files, so we'll name that Rosette Nebula 2, and we'll export that as a JPEG file to the desktop, and it'll ask for the quality you want to export it to, and you want to put that always as 100%. Slide that up to 100, and I always save that just to be safe. I'm not really sure what that is, but I always check it. Export, and there we have it. That is our saved image, so we'll go out of GIMP, go in. Here's the finished picture. And there we have it. That is the finished image of the Rosette Nebula with a really quick processing technique, and really happy with it. So I hope you learned something from this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you all for all the support, and I know we're really growing with the subscribers right now, so can't thank you guys enough for supporting the channel. So thanks for watching this processing tutorial, and as always, clear skies, and thank you for watching Astro Pilot.